Welcome to the Spiritist Companion podcast. My name is Yuri Castro, and I'll be your companion on this journey where we study, reflect, and put Spiritist teachings into practice. If you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to subscribe, to follow our pages, and most importantly, to send this podcast to someone else as well, so we can spread the seeds of light together. My dear friends, today is one of those topics that when you really stop and think about it, shifts the way we see ourselves. It comes from a short line said by our Master Jesus, and we have this in Matthew chapter 5, and it's easy to pass right over in the middle of the Gospels. Our Master said, "No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket." Sometimes, depending on the translation, we see bushel or we see light instead of lamp, but the idea is the same. So what did he mean by that? And is that what we have been doing even without realizing it? Let's reflect together, shall we? First, understanding the context. The basket in this passage was a container used to measure grain, which is something ordinary, found in just about every household of that time. Covering a lit lamp with it would be a senseless thing to do. You just lit a flame and then you immediately hide it under a bowl or a basket. Nobody does that because that would be a waste. And that's exactly the absurdity that Jesus uses to make us see something about ourselves. Because in a quieter, more subtle way, we do it all the time, my dear friends. Allan Kardec, the codifier of Spiritism, in chapter 24 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, he deepens this passage in a way that I think is very balanced. He talks about how the truth should not stay hidden, that the spiritual knowledge we receive isn't meant only for our own benefit. When we learn something that changes us, we're called to share it, above all through example. But he makes an important distinction, and I think it prevents a common mistake. Sharing the light is not the same thing as pushing your opinions on others. Truth, when it's genuinely truth, convinces through its own fruits. It doesn't need to be forced down anyone's throat. And that reframes quite a bit of what sharing the light actually looks like. And it's not proselytizing, it's lived consistency. Also in the same chapter, Allan Kardec is going to say how Jesus spoke in parables to his disciples. Why? Because of the Master's infallible way of teaching. He knew that too much light for those who are in darkness would simply blind them. Or as Kardec put, a radiant light would blind without enlightening. And that's why. Because every teaching must be proportional to the intelligence of those to whom it is directed, he says. And this makes a lot of sense, my dear friends. Imagine if we were to teach a small child, let's say 5-6 years old, about everything that physics has to offer, or everything about chemistry. It would simply overwhelm them. It would not light a light for them in terms of knowledge. Kardec also says that in its prudent wisdom, providence does not reveal truths except gradually. It always reveals them to the degree that humankind matures enough to receive them. Providence holds them in reserve and not under a bushel, or a basket, or a bowl, depending, like I said, on the translation. But the idea that Kardec is talking here, my dear friends, is very simple. Providence teaches us things gradually because we, as spirits, we evolve gradually. Now, when we hear the word light in this context, it's easy to picture big names, famous mediums, missionaries, elevated spirits who helped shape history. But Jesus wasn't only talking about them. He was talking about anyone who has something, however small, that could help another person. Maybe your light isn't considered grand. Maybe it's just a small flame, but it's there. It might be the way you listen to someone without judging them. It might be the honesty you hold on to, even when it would be easier not to. It might be a patience you've developed through a lot of effort, or a piece of knowledge you carry that could help far more people than you realize. The question was never about the size of the flame. It was always about whether you chose to leave it burning and visible. So why do we hide our own light then? It is worth stopping to ask, why would someone do that? Why hide something that could help? Well, usually it's not out of malice. It's usually out of fear. Fear of being judged, fear of making a public mistake, fear of the criticism that comes from people watching us do anything, literally, especially nowadays with technology. Sometimes it's much simpler than that. Sometimes it's because of comfort. We know what we could do, but we put it off. We push it to later. We convince ourselves that the timing isn't right yet. And there's also a third reason, and could be perhaps one of the most common for a lot of you, my dear friends, a feeling of inadequacy. But here's the catch. Sometimes that feeling of inadequacy can look like humility when in fact it is not. It comes when we ask questions like, who am I to help anyone? I still have so many faults of my own. I'm not ready yet. If not now, then when? That's the question I ask. I've thought of all these things myself, yes, and maybe, like I said, you have too. But notice, Jesus never said, shine when you're perfect. He said, let the light shine right now with whatever faults you're still carrying. And there's also a layer of this teaching that tends to go unnoticed. Sometimes we hide our own light, not from others, but from ourselves. We get so fixed on our own mistakes, on the endless list of things that still need fixing, that we forget to acknowledge what's already good inside us. Recognizing our flaws is necessary. It's part of the process of growth, yes. But recognizing our own qualities is necessary too, and that's the part we oftentimes tend to skip, let's be honest. God doesn't only look at what still needs to be adjusted in you. He also sees what you are already capable of becoming, and maybe it's time you started seeing that too. And shining is different than performing, so let's make that very clear, because for me, one of the most important points of this whole teaching is this one. There's a big difference between wanting to illuminate and wanting to be seen. Vanity wants to be noticed. Genuine light wants to serve, and often prefers not even to be noticed at all. When we're primarily chasing personal recognition, the light loses some of its strength because it stops being about helping and becomes about being seen helping. They look similar from the outside. They're quite different on the inside. When the genuine focus is on helping without needing the spotlight, the light grows stronger, and it tends to reach more people than the version that was performing the whole time. And Spiritism is a sort of light, not just as a book, not just as a set of collective teachings. Allan Kardec said that Spiritism came precisely to shed light on questions that had been obscured for centuries. And there's a trap, quote-unquote trap, worth naming here. Knowing these sets of beliefs that Spiritism teaches us deeply and still acting with intolerance, selfishness, or pride in daily life gets us nowhere. The true sharing of Spiritism doesn't happen through theoretical debates. It happens through example, and how we who study Spiritism behave when nobody's paying attention, or when people are paying attention too. This passage of the light and the bushel also has to do with this feeling that sometimes we think we're too small. And I believe, and I've seen it, some people carry this sincere conviction that they have nothing of value to offer the world. But my dear friends, the parable of this lamp says exactly the opposite. It's not about the size of the flame, it's about not hiding it. A small light is still enough to push back quite a bit of darkness, especially for whoever is standing right beside it. So how can we apply this knowledge to our daily lives, to concrete situations? I brought a few examples here. First, at work. You're in an environment sometimes where gossip or unfair competition or small dishonesties are practically the rule. If that's the case, your light in that context might simply be refusing to participate in that. Treating people with respect even when no one is requiring it of you. And maybe no one notices right away, but influence doesn't need applause to exist. You can also think at the Spiritist Center. A lot of people who attend a center carrying the feeling of, I don't know enough to be of any use or something like that. But light doesn't depend only on theological knowledge. Sometimes a warm smile for someone who walks in lost is worth more than a long explanation of Spiritist teachings. Let's also think on social media. We live in an age of constant exposure, and every post is, in practice, a choice between feeding aggression and misinformation or putting something constructive into the world. And it's not about preaching, it's about what you decide to put out there, even in small things. Let's also think of our homes. There's a recurring irony that we see a lot of the times. We want to change the world and forget to tend to our own households. The lamp illuminates first where it's placed, listening more, criticizing less, forgiving more easily, creating an environment where people feel safe. That's also light, and it might be the hardest form of all because it demands consistency every single day. We can also think through quiet example, because not every light needs a stage, and this might be the most beautiful form of all even. A father who raises his children with patience even when he's exhausted. A mother who holds everything together without making a show of it. A friend who stays present even when the situation is hard and uncomfortable to witness. Nobody's filming any of that, but it's light all the same. And my dear friends, there's something beautiful about how light actually works. When you use your flame to light another candle, your own flame doesn't get smaller. It stays exactly the same. Good works the same way. When you share knowledge, when you share hope, or simply genuine attention with someone, you don't lose any of it. If anything, you grow. Spiritual generosity doesn't operate like a finite resource. The more you give, the more remains. My dear friends, God didn't place a light inside you for it to stay hidden away. You have talents, even if you don't recognize them as such. You have experience that cost you something and that could spare someone else a similar kind of pain. You have virtues that, even while still developing, yes, are already capable of helping someone. Maybe you won't transform multitudes, most of us won't, but you can certainly illuminate one person, one conversation, one family, one specific environment at one specific moment when it makes all the difference. And sometimes, honestly, a single light is enough to change someone's entire night. So, don't hide the best of what you carry. And just like that, my dear friends, we reach the end of episode 55 of the Spiritist Companion podcast. I hope this was helpful, even if just a little, and if it was, please send this to someone else as well so we may spread the seeds of light together. Don't forget to subscribe and to follow our pages as well. I'll see you guys next Monday for another episode of this podcast. And until then, trust what you have to offer and let your light do its work. With fraternal love, your Spiritist Companion.